Good morning, friends, wherever you are, and welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee. Oh, yeah, wherever you are, I hope you're having a cup of your favorite beverage. And if I could get a AV check, let me know how sound and video are looking. I would appreciate it. So let's see who we have in the house here today. Angelo. Hey, Angelo. Good morning to you, my friend. And yes, we are expecting some rain here in Nashville as well. So stay dry, my friend. I can't promise you a 2-hour live stream, but I'll do my best. The union only allows me a 1 hour. Mexicali Fishkeeper in the house. And you know, I really did enjoy that live stream with Lucas, and just a real, just I guess the best word would be a cool dude. He's just a cool dude. He really knows his stuff. He's laid back, and you know we got along fine. We're from definitely different age categories, but very much kind of on the same wavelength when it comes to fish keeping and just kind of a chill approach. And I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to meeting him in person. I believe I'll see him at Aquashella in November at Daytona Beach in Florida. I think that'll be the opportunity that I'll have to meet him in person. Hey, Paul Newman in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Glad you're here. And thank you so much for showing up at so often, Paul. You're very appreciated. Sundar. Hey, Sundar. When's the last time I saw you, buddy? All the way from India. And yeah, I have talked a lot in various videos about losing interest. And, people burn out on stuff. I mean, they burn out on they burn out on relationships. They burn out on, on marriages. They burn out on, people burn out on everything, jobs, on hobbies. I mean, they burn out on stuff. And the only thing I could say is there's that point, and I talked about it in my last video, my tips, my tips on healthy fish video. I talked about it, and John, always on the ball, Cichlid Kings, found my video on burnout. I talk about it in there as well. There is you kind of got to go back to when you were having fun, and sort of resurrect that atmosphere. Maybe you were having the most fun when you had a small planted community. Maybe you had one betta. Maybe you had a few angelfish and some neons, in a 10-gallon. I mean, whatever that point was where you were having the most fun, you can get back there and if you want and see if that doesn't get you going again, But it can become work. It can become chores, and people will go ahead and they just decide that they've had enough, Now, sometimes there's other factors. Work that makes you travel, your family has grown, your job is demanding more from you. There's factors that make it really hard to be a fish keeper sometimes. I left the hobby for a good number of years because I was on the road. I was on the road for 6 years, basically, and it was impossible for me to really maintain tanks. I ended up getting a tank for my son, and then he went off to school. I inherited that tank, and here I am. So at any rate, yeah, scale it back. And by the way, you can apply that to anything. I mean, it's real funny. I had a friend one time talk to me about, he'd been married for like 35 years, and he said, you get married and you go on autopilot, and he said you have to constantly be creating the romance. When's the last time you brought your wife flowers? When's the last time you surprised her with something, took her out to dinner, or did something unexpected, or so it's a constant create, and you get caught up in your job. You don't have time for this, time for that, don't have the money, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, I think he used to have a date night. Like every Tuesday was a date night. It didn't matter what was going on in the world. He'd go to dinner with his wife. I just thought that was brilliant, you know. So you can prevent burnout if you take precautions and steps, and do the work, do the work, just like with fish keeping. So at any rate, I hope that helps, Sunder, and I hope you're not feeling burned out. So Mexicali Fish Keeper, how's the weather in Arizona? I heard it was 100 over in Phoenix. I spoke with James, had a nice conversation with James Largo, and I heard it was about 100 degrees over in Arizona. Makes it real interesting boxing fish and taking them to the airport. While we're on the topic, let's go ahead and give a shout out to James. He is a sponsor of this channel. Let's let it rock out. All right, so be sure to visit the Cichlid Shack and use Shack Attack 15 for 15% off on orders of $100 or more. Does not apply to shipping. And shipping options include Southwest Cargo and also FedEx and UPS. If you use Southwest, be sure they deliver to an airport near you. And let's see here. You'll notice that we have removed the we've removed the shipping discount. That discount has expired, so the flat rate $50 shipping is no longer available. Also, while I'm on the topic, a big shout out to the members of the Garage Gang, my Patreon monthly supporters. Thank you to all of you for your ongoing support. You help me keep the show on the road and help get me to places like Daytona in November for Aquashella. It is your support that helps me do that. So thank you very much to Patreon members. Information on becoming a monthly supporter is in the description. And thank you to all of you who recently picked up cups. I noticed that the sale of mugs is going well at my Teespring store. And also thank you to those of you who use the Amazon link to get to Amazon. It indirectly helps my channel without costing you a penny. So let's see here. We have some fun stuff to talk about. Let's go ahead and officially start this stream. There you go. It's official now. So, did I get an AV check? Let me see here. Did someone tell me that you could see and hear me okay? Checking the chat. Is the sound and video coming through fine? Jerry's Fish Room in the house, along with Cichlid Kings. And I think Denny will be here, Dennis Rudell, and wonderful moderators. Give me some kind of sign. Hey, how's the AV? Audio seems to be on the lower side. Okay. All right. I can turn that up very easily if that's the case. I appreciate that feedback. Yeah, I know last week I think I was clipping a little bit. Okay. That should be a little bit better. I turned it up a little bit, but you know, if you turn it up too much, you try and run too much audio in the pipeline, and it's just too much bandwidth, and you start to get what is called clipping, which is where you get a little bit of a crackle at the high end of the volume. But I hope that's a little better. Thank you for that AV check. Michelle Crisco, hey, I had burnout for quite a while and resurrected my joy for the hobby by breeding some different egg scatterers. Seeing that progress did wonders. Yeah, there you go. You know, mix it up, do something a little bit different. And you know, I love, and I haven't gotten into it, but when I've seen it, the mouth brooding fish like your African cichlids, just fascinating, fascinating. How the female will not eat for 20 days, and you know, and then those little wigglers come out of her mouth. Just it's just amazing, amazing stuff. Really, really fascinating. Would love to get into breeding some fish at some point, but you know, that leads to a whole bunch of other stuff, additional tanks, things like that. Let me know if that made the volume a little bit better for you. Hey, Cat Sailor in the house. Very good news. Cat Sailor says, had a great week and aquarium issues were at a minimum and resolved. Nice. Hey, Jeff Hester. Z-Zip in the house. NJW. I think that's New Jersey. Oh, no, it's from the UK. From the UK. Great Britain. Awesome. You know, the UK and Australia has a fair percentage of my viewers, which I find very interesting. And I loved going to the UK. Just so you know, I loved it there. London, oh my goodness. Dublin, over in Ireland, oh my God, I loved it. Just absolutely loved it. GP and R. Baglio and Cichlid Savvy, love that name. Fish Fam Link in the house, or Inventor. And we got some great, great people here. Our Aquatic Universe with Mike B. What a great name. Is that a channel? I want to check that channel out just because of the name. Hey, Josh Alfaro is in the house. Strange Fish is in the house. Thank you for that sound check, Strange Fish. Warren Ventus, Cichlid King. JD is here. Bros Aquatics. Boy, I love all these names. Nick Everett. Hey, Nick. Nick Everett in the house. Crystal C. Burned out a month after setting up my tank. Freaking out about parameters, made up my mind to relax. Such an important turning point for fish keepers. And I talked about that in my last video. You know, you can get to a point, and this is especially true if you've been through some type of a crash, illness, you know, some kind of an illness in the tank, some type of a die-off for some reason. You start to operate in a sort of low-level anxiety 24/7, and you're always coming in and looking at the tank, not anticipating the joy of looking at these beautiful creatures, but already expecting to find something wrong, a spot on a fish, a sick fish, a dead fish, you know, something wrong, and not good. Not good to operate that way. All that does is get your blood pressure up, harden up your arteries, and just not good for you. Hey, somebody hit me with a super chat. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you for that super chat. Very, very appreciated. Super chats are a way for you to support the channel. At the very bottom of the chat, you can see, you can hit that little money sign, and I'm not going to use the throw money at the pole dancer analogy anymore, but I guess by saying it I did, and I'm sorry. All right, let's see. In the low 3 digits in Arizona. Ouch. Reginald Woods in the house. Hey, Reggie, good to see you there, and I'm glad you're here. Brian Park in the house. Robert Egan, and all right, let's just keep going. Audio is excellent. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. Video for geeks. Pump up the volume. Okay, I did. All right. All right, let's get into today's topic. And let's see here. I think I have a couple things for you. First of all, I was asked a question off camera, and this is sort of a bonus topic, and it was a question from our very own Cichlid Kings, who was is Whips World in the house. Moderators, keep a close eye on that guy. He's just a troublemaker. Just picking on your whips. So, so I was asked about water clarity, and you know, I'm a big fiend for water clarity. I don't know how many videos I have out there that have floating in air or pristine in the title, and it's just just a topic that I love, and there's a variety of reasons why you might be having issues with water clarity. Now, certainly, if you have a new tank, it's not uncommon to get an algae or a bacterial bloom, and usually that will pass with time. So, if you're just patient and you let it run its course, it will clear up. But very often, many of us are not patient, and you want that crystal clear water immediately, and you're watching some gal or some dude on YouTube, and you see those fish floating in air, and you're like, I want that, and I want it now. We certainly are not as, I don't think, as patient as we used to be when we used to go around on horseback, I guess. But so people want it now. So for those of you that get impatient, there's a few things you can do, from expensive and technical down to very untechnical. You can go to the fabric store and buy some crib batting. Be sure it's not flame retardant. But you can buy some crib batting, simple white crib batting, and it works just like floss that you buy, and just shove that into your filter and keep it in there for about a month. Pull it out and throw it out, and the crib batting will pretty much grab everything. You can also use products like Pinky Floss. Pinky Floss works real well. Again, put it in there, leave it in there for a month, and pull it out, or you will have some clogging in your filter. You can also, that's like the simplest route you can go, is just add something that will grab the particles. You can also add things that are sort of biological things, like I think the Fritz Monster 360 and the Seachem Clarity, I think products like that will add, in a biological, natural way, will add some size to the small particles, so that they get trapped in the filter. I think Denny and I were talking last week, Dennis Riddell and I, about something that he used. I think you said Clarity, Denny, and the Clarity, you can add Clarity, and the Clarity will go ahead and attach to those small particles that are fogging up your tank, and then make them more easier to be captured by the filter media. So you can go just plain floss, or you can go plain floss and a liquid additive, and you can also use what are called resin type products, like ChemiPure, Purigen, products like that. Boyd Industries, I think, makes ChemiPure. Seachem makes Purigen. These products work. They work. I don't run them in my tanks. They're established enough, right on. They're chemical free, no chemical filtration. You can also use activated charcoal. Activated carbon works. It really absorbs. My favorite is the Seachem Matrix Carbon. They also call their filter media Matrix. I don't know why, but people get those confused. But Matrix Carbon from Seachem is just a beast of an absorbent. So now, with those kinds of products, you leave them in for a limited amount of time, and then you either replace them or just pull them out altogether when you feel they've done their job, and get rid of them. So those kind of products are good. And then, of course, you can't beat you can't be, doing your vacuuming and water changes. I mean, vacuuming and water, removing, some of the tainted water, putting in fresh water. I mean, that's, you can't beat that for water clarity, and making sure that your filters are well maintained so that the circulation in the filter is not too clogged up, and water is bypassing. It can't get through the media, so it bypasses and pretty much goes unfiltered from the tank and then back into your aquarium. So the only benefit really is perhaps a little bit of oxygenation by returning to the tank and splashing around, but you're not getting any filtration. Now, I did hear something really interesting from Lucas over at LRB, and he said that he, in some ways, liked it when a filter was a little clogged because it slowed the flow, and when you slowed the flow, you had a better chance of bacteria interacting with the water, and both aerobic and anaerobic bacteria had more contact with the water. Sort of like the idea, which is going to be my final point on water clarity, the idea behind a UV sterilizer. A UV sterilizer uses a twist and a low GPH pump. So you have a slow moving water traveling down a twisting, a twisted pipe that is being blasted by, I believe, a minimum of 20 to 30 watt UV. This is very different than the UV bulb, which is like 7 or 9 watts, and water is rushing past it in a filter, like in a canister filter. The water is just rushing past that UV. It's not really you're getting some water clarification, but you're not getting the removal of bacteria and viruses, spores, things like that a slow UV twist can do, and that will create water clarity, and is often found in things like discus tanks. You'll find a UV system because it really zaps viruses and bacteria that you don't want to have in that tank. So there are a lot of ways to work on clarity as a tank matures and your bacteria is really doing its job. In my case, in the very deep substrate, in the massive sponges that are in my sump, there's a tremendous amount of bacteria that is just, munching away and pulling nutrients out of the water and filtering. And as your tank matures, you will have clarity. You will have clarity, assuming that you're staying on your maintenance schedule. So, any questions or comments about that, let me know. And yes, when I do a new setup, because I bring over filter media, very often 50% water from an established tank, not for bacteria, because very little bacteria is in the water column, just for pH, I'll bring 50% water from an established tank and then fill the rest up with clean tap water. So it's like a water change, right? Making sure I condition that water before adding it. And then I bring in media from an established tank. And so I have an instantly cycled tank, and I never go through an algae bloom. I never go through a bacterial bloom. I have a clear tank from day one. In a brand new tank also, very, very often I will go ahead and add something like Seachem, like a Seachem Purigen product. Like I did in the 300, I had 3 pouches of Seachem Purigen. And then after a while, after they become a little brown, I'll go ahead and pull them out. Don't usually recharge them, even though I can, and I have, but I don't often do it. Warren comes through with another super chat. Thank you, Warren. I appreciate that. I'm a little distracted. I'm watching something unfold in my 300-gallon. The Malawi trout has built just a massive crater in the left half of the aquarium. And he's circling it, and he's occasionally doing a mating dance with other fish. And the Livingstoni built a massive crater in the back right corner where he must have moved 20 pounds of substrate. But it looks like he's over it. He's realizing that there's no female is responding. And now I've got the Malawi trout, and I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you. It's just, I mean, it's like a moon crater. So let me just go ahead and we'll just call this Rick, a mature tank. I think honestly, 6 months to a year. 6 months to a year. That's where you get a mature tank. Just happen to notice your question here. But let me turn the camera around and show you what's going on here. Hold on. So I'm not sure if you can really tell the depth of that pit. You see the indention there on the on that left side there. Maybe I can enlarge it. Anyway, it's a pretty big pit, and it's being guarded by the there he is, that massive trout. Hold on. And so you have and you notice there's no other fish there. They're giving him a wide berth. He's not hurting anybody. He's just hurting them. Not hurting, but hurting. And this will pass. It'll pass probably in a week. But in the meantime, even the big old, even the Livingstoni and the the Rhodesii yellow, and some of the bigger dudes are just like, okay, man, do your thing, do your thing. We're just gonna hang over here. We're just going to hang over here on this side of the plant, and you carry on, and you let us know when you're done. And you see that he's carrying a bunch of moving a bunch of substrate, and he's just a beast. And he's all fired up in his breeding dress, which is absolutely beautiful. As long as he doesn't hurt anybody, he just chases them off. There he goes, making more pit. Anyway, so this is a 7 foot across 300-gallon tank. Can you imagine if they were in a 125 or a 75? He'd probably be pounding those fish against the far wall. And just like, I'd end up with a bunch of fish with swim bladder issues. So while we're on the subject, let's go ahead and turn this into a fish room lap. So hopefully you'll be able to hear me during this lap. I'm just going to do it here live on the fly. Let's swing over. Here's a 90-gallon. Everyone's doing well in there. Those little silver dollars have just exploded, and they're just really putting on size. The other day, I was actually having a little bit of trouble separating the new ones from the older ones. They just really put on size in that 90-gallon. Even the red shoulder's coming up to the glass. That's unusual. Let's see if I can get a little more light on it. Hold on. It's a little brighter. Someone was asking me about the geos, and they were sold to me as Surreymanensis. But people have debated that as to whether or not they're Surreymanensis, real true Surreymanensis, red-striped earth eaters. Honestly, I don't care. They're beautiful. Here's the planted. The planted tank is doing spectacular. You know, I've dialed the light back, and the plants are doing fine, and the black algae is retreating a little bit. So I'm thinking less light is the key. I'll turn it up here so you can see the tank a little better. This aquarium co-op easy LED plant light is just a beast. I mean, that's not even 100%. That's probably 70%. So I had it down to like almost 30-40%. So at any rate, that tank is just doing really well, and the little autos that I put in there are thriving, and you can see I got some lemons in there. There's some autos. There's some red serpas. There's a group of rasboras. There's a whiptail cat in there somewhere. There's cories. Anyway, it's just a real fun tank to look at. There's that new plant I picked up from Aquatic Critter, the one that shoots roots from the leaves. And it's in a high flow area, and it's not getting any black bearded algae. So I think we might be onto something. Now, if we move over to the next tank, which is really a hospital tank, and what I have in there is an Insignis who's recovering from a little bit of a bacterial issue, and I have the Autopharynx tetrastigma. Can't really see them that well. They're hiding in the corners. But the Autopharynx tetrastigma is actually swimming upright and eating. And this is after he was just rolling around, being pushed around by the flow of the filter. I've never seen a fish with a will to live like that Autopharynx tetrastigma. All right, let's move over here to the 210 gallon, which you've been looking at the entire time. And these fish are all just rocking and rolling. This vieja, maybe you can tell by comparing it to my hand, vieja's got to be around 11 inches. The Oscars are doing great. The albino actually put on a little size, maybe catching up with the red tiger. The Salvini. Lighten it up a little bit, hold on. So I'm real happy with how this tank is doing. There goes the firemouth and the Nicaragua. The Nicaragua's been picking on the green terror a little bit, interestingly enough. This guy's got pink and red and black and blue. He's just got a huge kaleidoscope of colors. Rusties are holding their own. Looking pretty good. All right, I'm going to show you the other tanks, but I can't really move the equipment around. I'm going to go ahead and just show you the other tanks in a different way. All right, let's get this mic from in front of my face. It was a bit of an informal fish room tour. Let me fix the exposure, hold on. That should work. All right. I know some of you prefer these laps of the fish room live during the live stream, so I figured I'd do it that way. But there's a couple tanks I really can't get to, so let me go ahead and just show you those. Here's my experiment tank, and yes, I am feeding them zucchini and. But here's the Siamese algae eater. And you can see he actually, once he got settled in, started to get very interested in the blackbeard algae. Here he is working on it. And you can see that plant is not looking that bad. So he's doing a decent job. They love that zucchini and cucumber. The snails get all over it. In the back corner there, you'll see that odd clamshell, snail that I picked up over at the Aquatic Critter. I mean, it literally looks like a freshwater clam, but it's a snail. I love weird looking snails, like my pagodas. The honey gourami was swimming all around and is eating very well, but got a little spooked when I started filming, so he retreated to the top of the filter, which is kind of a low flow area in the tank. It also goes underneath the sponge filter on the right side. I've pointed the the output against the back wall so it disperses a little bit. Let's walk over. Let's move over here to the live bear. Look at the colors on these live bears. They're giving me a constant flow of fry, and of course a lot of them probably get eaten. But we've got some lyre-tail mollies in there. We've got some Mickey Mouse platies, some cories, a pagoda snail that just wants to be buried and left alone. You can see some of the fry in there. They like hiding up there in the Sprite. I just love the colors of these little guppies. Are just stunning. Even the female guppies are pretty. There's a hospital tank that isn't being used. Here's my little Dumbo. I'm having more success with the betta since I started taking my own advice and messing less. Someone suggested I make a t-shirt for aquarium success, mess less. But little Dumbo's doing great. Let me see where my little candy-colored one is. He's in here somewhere, hiding in the back. I've got the two Coolie Loaches in here, and I've got some Plecos in here. So I'm dropping, Pleco wafers. Love the colors on this guy, and I love the way those big Dumbo fins are always flapping around. There he is. You can see him back there. For some reason, he's being shy this morning. Come on. Come show everybody how pretty you are. I feed these guys once a day. I have a live Sprite on each side of the tank of the betta duplex. I also have some artificial plants in there that they can play around with, just to give them a place to get in and out of. They love having places to poke in and out of. There you go. Now you can see them. Oh, here we go. A little face off for you. But look at that blue and red on this guy. He was not that pretty when I first got him. But boy, oh boy, has he blossomed. You can see I've got some Anubias in there, and that Anubias, along with the Sprite, but that Anubias is doing better probably than any Anubias I've ever had. All right, there you have it. Now you've done a complete lap of the fish room. So let's see here. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's see if you have any questions for me. If I missed any super chats during that, I apologize. And I want to go ahead and get into the next topic. It's like we've got 3 topics today. I've got the next topic, which is what the thumbnail promised. I'm going to talk with you about beautiful fish. Now, for those of you who have a lot of tanks or even if you have a couple tanks, over time, some fish will move into the #1 spot. They'll become the sort of the showstopper, and the sort of bloom and blossom. And over time, I'll have one fish that's a favorite, and then I'll have another fish that's a favorite, because they're changing. They're constantly changing and evolving. And I'll show you what's currently going on here, and I think it's very, very cool. And then we'll go ahead and pick up some of your your questions and look at some of your comments. So first off, recently this sand diver, and I'll get back to this sand diver as he retreats into the shadows, but that sand diver has just been nuts. And I really wish the camera could capture the beauty of the Kawingi. This is called a Kawingi cichlid. It's a little rare. Every one of its scales has a distinct color to it. a little bit like the Malawi trout. But the sand diver, certainly this eye biter's got to be in the mix. But the trout, who I filmed this right before he lost his mind and went into full, so he's even more beautiful right this moment. But the trout, well, I got to include this bicolor 500. I really admire this little fish, you know, surviving in this tank with these giant predator beasts. But here's this fish was just a gray, dull fish. And all of a sudden, he gets that incredible metallic color. Very, very beautiful. Probably an honorable mention has to be the Buccochromis rhodesii yellow. Not just because of his color and markings on his dorsal and anal fin, but just because he's such just a brute of a fish. He's just a husky, healthy fish. But I think the sand diver has got to be, along with the Malawi trout, have got to be in the top of the list right now for most beautiful fish. Now we get to this tank, and you know, the spots, and in some cases spangles, of a green tear, I just think that they're absolutely beautiful. Now, you know, I got to include my thumbnail fish, Sally, the female Salvini. Look at the spangles, the little speckles on the top of her body. Unbelievable. And that red belly. Come on. These Oscars are both showstoppers, but more of a common type of fish. But certainly in my list of fish, the fins on them, and I love the way they interact. That Jack Dempsey's got to be in there somewhere. The spots on that Jack Dempsey are beautiful. And what about the subtle colors of the Nicaragua? You're going after my green tear. This Nicaragua has no idea how big this green tear is going to get. In another year, he'll be able to just swallow her. But in this tank, I think the Salvini, I think we all agree the Salvini has got to be the centerpiece of this tank. Just a showstopper. Now, this tank here, you know, my planted 55, I don't really have a fish that I would say like stops me cold because of sheer beauty, but the overall vibe, the overall feel of the tank, to me, is very, very aesthetic. There's a little nest of neon tetras down there. I put an almond leaf in there, and they kind of rallied around it. It's their clubhouse now. But just the overall look and feel of this tank is very, very relaxing. So what do you think? I mean, do you think I named the ones that are the prettiest, or do you think that there's another fish here that I might have missed? I mean, when you look at some of those guppies up close, I mean, it's the colors are just spectacular. So it's a real hard to choose. But at this particular stage, the Salvini, the trout, the sand diver, the Kawingi. You know, I skipped the 90, but you know, the 90 gallon, I've got to include those Geophagus in there. They're just nuts pretty. Where do you put the bettas in that list? Anyway, I give up. What are your favorite? What do you think are the prettiest ones? Let me know in the comments. I can't pick. I give up. I can't pick just 5. So. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at your comments and see where you're at, see where you're coming from. I'm gonna go back here, and Warren, I think I thanked you for that second super chat. Thank you so much for that. And still saving up money for that new microphone. So even though the microphone's working fine today, so all right, let's see here. Let's see, any questions. Ron, let's see. Ronald is doing some breeding with a very pretty fish. Very nice. Very, very nice. Yeah, share a picture with me, will you? I'd love to see him. You can send it to ben.o.cichlid@gmail.com. Love to see a picture of that fish. Peas and haps forever. Oh no, another water topic. You think we're going to go off into another, we're going to end up in a YouTube rant war? So silly. It's fish, man. Okay, let's see. Whips World. Whips World likes Irish coffee. Can I see an ID, please? All right, let's see here. Crystal C, every time I vacuum, gravel, or clean filter, water turns a little cloudy. Yeah, it happens, and then it clears up. It clears up within an hour. You're back. You're back to nice and clear. Whips World, remind me to tell you if we ever meet in person my my Bloody Mary story, and I'll just say it happened on a hammock in Puerto Rico, but that's all I'm going to share. So, Gary's Fish Room, big scare of the what? White list issue of the Lacey Act. What? Jerry's Fish Room is saying the Lacey issue is back in play. Could really kill the hobby in Florida. Yeah, I mean, I knew they would use Florida as the target because it has so many invasive species. What the plecos are doing to the manatees, the anacondas, or the boas, I think, that are in the... anyway, it's just a wild scene down there because so many fish, so many types of creatures can live there, but then they become apex predators and end up really messing up the ecosystem. So it'll be interesting to see where that ends up. The Lacey Act, if you're not familiar with that, you can look up the Lacey Act. It could actually put certain fish on lists and you will not be able to get them. Just like in some parts of the country, you can't get snakeheads, you can't get, there's already fish that you can't get, that it's illegal to buy. I am cruising the chat. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them in now. DSGF, I do have catfish. I have Cory cats and about 30 plecos, if you classify those as cats. I also have an armored catfish, what you'd call sometimes a whiptail. And what other catfish do I have? Would you call Otto's catfish? Would you call my Siamese algae eater a type of catfish? Well, I do have some cats. I wouldn't mind adding some Synodontis, but they've got to be a pretty big size that they don't fit in the mouth of any of the fish in the cichlid tanks. So let's see, Burmese pythons, is that Whips World? Is that what's invading Florida right now? Iguanas, tegu, wild pigs. Yeah. And of course you can catch Oscars. You can catch Oscars in the waterways of Florida, which no doubt were released probably by hobbyists. I don't think they're native to Florida, are they? Someone told me that you can catch vieja cichlids. Where's my vieja? Come here, vieja. I was told you can catch viejas in the waterways of Florida. What is that doing to the other fish? Probably wreaking havoc. Michelle, I had some Amano shrimp back in California, and they were laying a lot of eggs. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm thinking bamboo shrimp. I'm sorry. I think those were bamboo shrimp, and they were laying eggs all over the place. Appalachian Aquatics. I have a turquoise peacock in the 300. Not sure if you noticed them. Starting to get that turquoise color, and it is beautiful, but it might be a little different from the fish that you're referring to. All right, let's see. Ronald, I agree. That Salvini is something. All right. Any other questions for me? Hit me with your questions. I know you folks enjoyed those 10 tips. It's the tips on fish health. It's funny. I was going to extract it from the live stream, but from last week's live stream, but I couldn't. For some reason, I couldn't get the video and the voice to sync up, and I was editing it on my phone, which isn't the most video feature rich. If I had been using my PC, the software I have on my PC or on my laptop, I could have moved the audio over a little bit, but at any rate, I just went ahead and just filmed a whole new video, and I think it came out okay. The response has been very, very positive. So for those of you who watched that video, thank you so much. Video for geeks. I think I have a 80-20 ratio between males and females. 80% male, 20% female. And I think the age demographic is primarily 30, maybe 20 to 45. And then it kind of tapers off. Probably matches a little bit of what's going on in the, in the hobby. If you hear some loud humming, it looks like my gardener is outside cutting the grass. So. Alishan, do you pronounce that Alishan AS? My favorite group of Malawi cichlids is the Lethrinops. Lethrinops are nuts. I love Lethrinops. Relatively peaceful. Every single one of them has a beautiful, unique color pattern. I had some back in California. Absolutely stunning. Sun City cichlids. If I did breed, I mentioned that I didn't think breeding was in the works right now because I would have to have so many tanks to handle the different waves of fry. Grow out tanks. When you breed, you got to have all these grow out tanks. So I think if I did breed anything, I mean, I'm breeding right now. I'm getting a lot of fry in my live bear tank, and I've gotten some of the cherry barbs. I've got some cherry barbs that I'm growing out from the live bear tank, but I don't know really what I'd breed right now. Maybe breed something that is becoming a little bit endangered. Get something like that. One of the fish that are a little bit hard to get a hold of, like the Paratilapia pollini. A Paratilapia pollini, that little starry covered blackfish that was originally in Madagascar, and you can't find them anymore really in the actual native habitat. That'd be fun to breed some of those, and they're beautiful fish, absolutely beautiful fish. Maybe something like that would interest me. Jerry's Fish Room. You're 57. Are all your papers in order, and You have a will and arrangements all set up? Of course, I'm picking on you since I'm almost 70. So let's see here. Archerfish, Dave C. talks about archerfish are fascinating. And they just had a bunch over at my local fish store, and they sold out. And fascinating fish. And yeah, I mean, I've got only so much room and so many tanks. At some point, maybe I'll build some racks to expand vertically, and maybe something like an archerfish in a tank with a low water line, and then I'd have to encourage a few flies to come in. So there's no scarcity of bugs here in Tennessee, just like I'm sure Jerry knows over in Florida. No scarcity of bugs. You open a door, you'll get plenty of bugs. R. Baglio, man, I've got about 30 plecos right now. Everybody's sharing the boss. What'd you say? Boss is 53. 53. That I've got ties that I used to wear that are older than 53. Oh, geez. The tapering off group, of course, it's a bell curve like anything else, right? So, and I suspect it probably matches. It's very close to the actual demographic of the hobby in general. You get a certain number of male and female ratio. You get a certain age groups. So at any rate, part of my purpose, it was kind of funny because part of my purpose of even being on YouTube is helping the hobby to grow and encourage people getting into the hobby by putting out videos that can simplify things and try and give advice that helps people to have some victories along the way and not be overwhelmed by setbacks. But then YouTube came out with this odd this sort of odd rule about is your content for people under 18, and if you say yes, then you have to go through all this weird series of steps. It was just easier, and I think almost every YouTuber probably did this. It's just easier to just say no, and so I think that may have created a little bit of a block for viewers under 18 because they and I think they're also trying to keep inappropriate behavior off of minors and also dial in the advertising, right? So that they don't run a Fruit Loop commercials and during videos that are 18 and over. But anyway, it's just an odd scene that kind of overcorrected the situation because I love when a younger audience will watch one of my videos and be encouraged to get into something like a live bear, small little 20-gallon live bear tank, or an entry-level type tank, keep a betta, something like that. So, which was sort of the original purpose of the channel. So, at any rate, all that being said, I want to thank you folks for sitting in with me for an hour today. A big shout out to my wonderful moderators and the best on YouTube. And thank you to Super Chatters. I hope I caught all of you. And keep an eye open for upcoming videos. I'm not even sure what I'm going to be doing. I have an out of town visitor, the son of a person I grew up with and knew since I was 10, who passed away way too early. His son is in town and is coming by to visit us tonight. So I don't think I'll be filming tonight. So, but maybe I'll drop a video tomorrow. We'll see if there are any topics that you would like for me to touch on. Go ahead and mention them in the comments under the video or even in the chat, and they will be taken under consideration. Thank you, everybody. You are the best. You rock. Thank you for spending an hour of your weekend with me, and I will see you all next week.